I'm the Eagles, CHEZ 106, and already gone. Free Me was Roger Daltrey, and we began the set with REO Speedwagon and Don't Let Him Go. Good evening to you. Welcome to a Monday night CHEZ 106 with Shelley Hartman. Another hell-raising weekend over with, thank heavens. I don't exactly know how much the body can take physically, but mentally there are definitely limits, especially when you end up by seeing 3 fatalistically and very melancholy movies in a row. You see, when you're working nights, you got to pack them in on the weekend. Well, on Saturday, I saw The Raging Bull and Kagemusha, the Shadow Warrior. Those two weren't exactly uplifting as far as endings were concerned. No happy endings. And Tess, a 3-hour extravaganza, also ended up with the poor girl getting lynched. 1980-81, it seems to be the year of the depressing movies. They all seem to be coming out that way, and I'm not too sure exactly why. I just don't need that kind of action when I'm fun-seeking on the weekend. But I suppose now we're into the middle of Monday, so it's almost like being from the frying pan into the fire. Bet they say that to all the girls. The Cars, CHEZ 106, and Just What I Needed. Come Back was the J. Gaz Band, and we began the set with Blondie and T-Birds. Good evening to you. I'm Shelley Hartman, and boy, do we have things happening tonight. We have the new Eric Clapton album. It's called Another Track, and I'll be featuring selected tracks from that album all evening long. At 6:45 and at 8:45, Kathy Donovan answers all the questions you have about Ottawa nightlife but forgot to ask. And also at 9 o'clock, we've got an interview with George Thorogood on the Rolling Stone Magazine Rock Review. Coming up at 9:45, our feature album tonight is a very special one indeed, Emerson, Lake and Palmer's First. Not bad for a Tuesday night. CHEZ 106, I'm Shelley Hartman, and that was Neil Young with Southern Man. Someone's Looking at You came from the Boomtown Rats, and from Styx, Too Much Time on My Hands. And time's ticking away indeed. Don't forget the Boomtown Rats are going to be coming to town March the 7th, and you better move fast if we pick up your tickets, because the tickets are moving fast themselves. CHEZ 106 with the Birds and 8 Miles High. A 3 dressed up as a 9 was Trooper, and from Bruce Springsteen, Off the River, The Tie That Binds. And speaking of the ties that bind, I wasn't going to start out tonight by mentioning that I can't stand being in debt, and I wasn't going to make the observation that I think it's absolutely unholy that my country, according to the figures released on the front page of the Citizen today, is $12.3 billion in debt, and that a good chunk of my already grossly out-of-line taxes are going just to pay off the interest on that debt, and not to the improvement of a country of which I am very proud. I am not going to scream mismanagement. I'm just going to welcome you to a Thursday evening, CHEZ 106. I'm Shelley Hartman, and I'm never going to bring up disturbing things ever again. CHEZ 106 with Shelley Hartman and The Doors in the title track to the album Strange Days. Turn It On Again came from Genesis, from Duke, and from The Police. When the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around. But I don't think we're facing world crises. Somebody else is, obviously, those people who are running our country, for example, or other nations. We, you and me, are facing personal crises, the crises of increasing things. There are more things out there right now. There are more physical things, more things to do, more things that exist in general. And during our leisure time, it is still relatively easy to go out and do the things we always do. But the more often we do that, the less often we try some of the new things. So the list of the new things ends up by growing, and the numbers start to become rather frightening as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I always go to rock concerts. That's something that is in my past, in my present, it's probably going to be in my future. But last night I decided to go to a piano recital at the NAC featuring a 23-year-old Yugoslavian youth by the name of Ivor Pogorelic, and I did not recognize any of the pieces of music. I'm not into classical, but it was an amazing show in total. And so to conclude, I definitely recommend that you start putting yourself in more unfamiliar situations, merely to prepare yourself for the things of the future. From the album Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is what we've got just east of us, that is Bruce Springsteen, CHEZ 106, and Promised Land. Getting Closer came from Paul McCartney and Wings. We began with Rod Stewart and Better Off Dead, which frankly is sometimes the way I feel when I'm really feeling low or when I'm suffering from some kind of insufferable pain. But pain is not something that one can avoid, right? But a person really has to sit back and develop methods of dealing with it. And for me and just about everybody else I know of, the best place to find pain, if you happen to be in the neighborhood looking for it, is of course in the dentist's office. That's why I greeted this next piece of information with such total approval. There is a disco dentist in Honolulu. His office has a disco flair. There are speakers everywhere. He makes his own tapes and plays them. He encourages dancing amongst his patients, and he also has headphones installed in all the dentist chairs so that you can hear music and not the noise of the drill, which is half of the battle anyway. He even provides a free low-calorie fluoride punch for people to sip on while they wait. Sounds like a lot, I suppose, but of course he is working in Hawaii, and I guess he can afford to be lavish. CHEZ 106 with the Rolling Stones and Luxury. And of course, don't forget there's more of the Rolling Stones where that one came from. Saturdays at 7 continues this week, part 4 of a 7-part series on the Rolling Stones. Back from that, Frank Zappa with I Don't Want to Get Drafted, and from Blondie T-Birds. Good evening to you, I'm Shelley Hartman, and I really don't know quite what's happening. When I first saw the front page of the Citizen today, I nearly had a fit. There is Ronald Reagan, a painterly rendition, you've got to remember, waving away around a sign saying, "Welcome to Ottawa." Well, that was fine, but the first thing that came to my mind, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it was also on the minds of the layout artists at the Citizen as well, is that the painting looked an awful lot like a billboard ad for cigarettes. Now I ask you, who is selling what to whom? Good evening, CHEZ 106 with Shelley Hartman and the Birds, 8 Miles High. XTC gave us generals and majors, and from Bruce Springsteen, I'm a rocker, baby, I'm a rocker. Which reminds me, shortly after Reagan left the city today, it was announced that he may be appointing another actor to international politics. Seems actor John Gavin, I think you may have seen his face around the television tube once in a while, is an old buddy of Reagan's, and it has been suggested that he is going to be the next ambassador to Mexico. Well, the Mexicans are furious and somewhat insulted, too, about the proposal, despite the fact that Gavin does speak fluent Spanish. They say, how can an actor like Gavin be considered seriously when the entire Mexican population recognizes him as the man who drinks 2 shots of rum, one right after another, on a popular TV commercial? But what the heck, I suppose all politicians should be actors. That would then finally ensure that the televised Commons debates would be the biggest hit in town. Good evening and welcome to a Thursday night, CHEZ 106 with Eric Clapton and Slow Hand. That was Cocaine. 3 dressed up as a 9 came from Trooper, and we began the set with Styx and Too Much Time on My Hands from their latest album, Paradise Theater. And speaking about too much time on one's hands, one can get into an awful lot of trouble sometimes when one has too much time on one's hands. Which reminds me, take one look outside and you tell me what's happening. You tell me where all this white stuff is coming from. Why on earth is it happening now? I mean, it seems so out of place. Well, causes are very difficult to pinpoint sometimes, I suppose, but I do have a theory. I figure there's some indolent ski bum lurking in Ottawa somewhere who's a little ticked off, I suppose, because the ski season has been somewhat nipped in the bud, so he's decided to turn to drastic measures, and that guy right at this very minute is into heavy burnt offerings. Who he's praying to, I'm not too sure, but it certainly is not Mother Nature. Chilliwack and 148 Heavy, and I Will Follow came from U2 off their one and only album, Boy. Good evening to you, I'm Shelley Hartman. How was your weekend, by the way? Well, my Saturday was a bit confusing, but Sundays are usually days that you reserve for special activities and occasions, and one of the things that people most often do is set aside Sunday for the folks, for Sunday dinner. Well, yesterday I dropped in at a friend's place and did just that. My parents live out of town, so it does make it a bit difficult, but after dinner we sat around and we talked, and one of the topics we did cover was parlor games. Romoli was mentioned and scorned and then dropped, and then we discussed the merits of various board games like Life and Sorry and Careers, and of course the all-powerful and megalithic Monopoly. Well, today I discovered a new game. It's called Strike, and it's a board game dealing with organizing and bargaining, and it aims to be Labor's answer to the Parker Brothers' classic capitalistic game Monopoly. It was created by Washington, D.C.'s Cambar Group, a consulting firm that deals an awful lot with union clients, and a sample chance card reads as follows. Your president is caught stealing union pension funds. You lose $50,000 and 10,000 members. Should be a big hit on May Day. And What is Life? Still Sane was Carolyn Moss, and we began with Saga and Careful Where You Step. And if you've had a rough one today, maybe it would be best if you avoid taking any chances at all this evening. That, at least, is the advice of one businessman, John DeWitt. His story is absolutely incredible. After spending 26 hours in and out of airplanes, he finally did land in Singapore about 4 days ago for a 3-day stay. In the airport bar, though, he met 2 young ladies, and after a while they consented to go back to his hotel room with them. And they hadn't come with exactly anything in mind, except they wanted to play. And for them, Strip Spin the Bottle was the game, and they also ended up by being real winners. With John DeWitt first forced out of all his clothing, then, as he had no clothes left, he still wanted to play the game, though. He let them, when he lost again, smear his body with toothpaste. Following this insult, he did go and wash up, and when he came back into the sitting room, the 2 girls and all his jewelry and cash were gone. Good evening, CHEZ 106 here with Shelley Hartman and the Rolling Stones' 19th Nervous Breakdown. Even the score came from Toronto and from U2 off the album Boy, Stories for Boys. So you want a story, eh? You gotta have a story you can't get off this evening. Well, I've got a story for you, and it comes from the realm of amazing advances by modern science. Here it goes. France has always been notorious for the unreliability of its phone system, right? But in recent years, the French have undertaken a modernization program that promises to give the French people one of the world's most advanced communication communication systems ever. By 1992, the French Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications promises to equip every single home that has a telephone already with an electronic terminal with a keyboard and 9-inch screen, which will replace paper telephone directories altogether. They figure that the cost of an electronic directory will be substantially less than revising and reprinting a new directory every single year. Now, to use the electronic directory, all a person does is dial 12 on the telephone, and an index to the directory will appear on the screen. Eventually, the telephone itself will be built right into the electronic terminal. The French expect to completely do away with the printed phone books by 1995 and deliver to its people a toy that beats all. Revolver and Taxman. Once in a Lifetime was Talking Heads, and we began with April Wine and All Over Town from the album The Nature of the Beast. Good evening to you. I'm Shelley Hartman. You know, we have as consumers been the target for just about everything possible from the retailers and industry over the years, but some of the most bizarre products turn up in the cosmetic industry for some reason. You remember that raving routine about high karate about 10 years ago? Well, that's basically what I'm driving at. And I just thought I'd draw your attention to the latest in women's fragrances, the perfumes and powders called Quartz. That's right, the crystal, the mineral. I mean, maybe they are designed for female geologists, who knows, or perhaps for women who work all day with silicone chips. But somehow the idea of putting quartz on my body is unquestionably an unappealing thing. But then again, who does know? It could turn out to be the Chanel No. 5 of the rock generation.